Are you ready? I'm Vin.
I'm Sori.
And this is Unforgiven by the band SEVENDUST.
For our big homie Sevendusted.
For the big homie Sevendusted.
See, that's what happens when you buy multiple songs in a row. You get a bunch of them reacted to at the same time, basically.
For timely topical political commentary, you can hit us up in Middle America with Vin and Sori. We've got a lively chat, debate, whatever thingamajiggy over there. And if you want to join the community, it's facebook.com/America Middle. And you're going to want to join if you want to join on Facebook very quickly. Now, there's multiple ways to get your song reviewed, dear listener. My favorite option is the community option, $1 at the gate at Patreon. Gets you into the collective known as an alliance, where an alliance leader will come to you, contact you, try to recruit you. And an alliance is basically a group of like-minded individuals who like the same genre of music. And you pull your points together, and that influences what songs that we review. On top of that, you get to hang out with the great Kellandra, Zonia, Ian, all the legendary individuals from the village. You also get to do, they got D&D, they got Minecraft, just a whole...
Hey, that's the first time you got it right.
That's the second time. Whole immersive community. That's a community option. You know me, I'm the community guy. I love that. If you're a filthy capitalist like Sori, then you're going to go with the individualistic, uncommunity...
No, you know what you want.
Filthy capitalist option. It's $125 at the gate, gets you straight to the head of the line, just like at Disney World. It's called.
This is here because I'm trying to get Vin to put the AC in this room.
It's called the Fast Pass option. This girl was going to be a missionary in some African jungle. And
I am not in an African jungle now. I'm in America.
$125 at the gate gets you in.
And I'm supposed to be spoiled.
And you're able to go right to the head of the line and skip everybody, and that's what Sevendusted did.
What is all of this?
And if you do that three times at all, then you get booted down to the $75 option, which is where Sevendusted is, and you also get a lifetime subscription to the backstage area VIP section of the website, which is coming out really soon. We had a meeting with our web designer. Oh my gosh, it's going to be such a crazy thing. But enough of that for now. Let us listen to some Sevendust Unforgiven. Wait. Because you always start the thing without me. All right.
Because it takes you so long.
Different. A little bit orchestral. Not what I was expecting. Lyrics.
What's inside of the beast? Tell me now what you need to start your own execution. If I'm battered and torn, strip it down to the core. Try to fight the redemption. We scream every single word, begging for some retribution. You only feel the wind, if it was all meant to be. Is that the only condition? I pray it turns around. Something to believe that pulls us to our knees when all is lost.
Wow.
Couldn't get the lyrics on the phone. Let's pull them up. That was Sevendust. They had that in 2018. That's pretty recent. I didn't know they were still making music.
Oh.
Yeah, it's 2018, so it's pretty close.
I forgot. I have to type lyrics.
Ah!
Every time. Why are you so loud?
All right, what did you think of this song?
I like the sound of it.
Okay.
It was kind of repetitive. I didn't know what we're singing about though, because it's hard when it's a lyric video for me. It's easier when I can see the lyrics beside us.
Yeah. I gotta get my computer back because your phone sucks. Can't get anything on it. What's inside the beast? Tell me. Well, it seemed to me. Well, yeah, I'll just start this way. What's inside the beast? Tell me now what you need to start your own execution. If I'm battered and torn, strip it down to the core. Try to fight the redemption. That's interesting because people are usually trying to fight for redemption. Mm-hmm. But here he's saying he's fighting. Looks
redemption.
like he's fighting the concept of redemption itself.
Yeah.
Maybe he thinks that he doesn't need any redemption, period. We scream every single word, begging for some retribution. You only feed on the weak. If it was all meant to be, is that the only condition? This seems to be an anti-religious song to me. And I'm not mad at the homie for being anti-religion. I mean, it's rock and roll, right? But it seems that he is resenting the concept of...
But he says, I pray it turns around then.
Yeah, I think there's some conversations here. Like, so for example, when it says, he says he at some point. Where is it? Oh, vanilla. He said something like, where I was like, it looks like somebody else was talking about him.
I pray he comes around.
Right
there.
Right there. Or I pray he comes around. Right. It seems like somebody was talking about him, and then he's got this other song, "God Bites His Tongue." So it looks like he's dealing with the concept of forgiveness in a religious context, and it looks like he's speaking out against it. In the sense of, he's saying you're feeding on the weak. Maybe he's saying that, Christianity makes people feel guilty for things they shouldn't feel guilty for.
And then when he's saying you're unforgiven, he's saying that people can't really find forgiveness in the religion. Is that what he's saying?
Well, maybe he's saying he wants to be on the side of the unforgiven because he doesn't believe he has anything to be forgiven for. Maybe he's looking at the whole thing as sort of like you're telling me I need to be forgiven because I'm not, living up to your standards. Mm-hmm. So if I reject your standards, then I'll be among the unforgiven. Mm-hmm. But maybe he's saying, well, that's who I want to be then, because I don't think that I think he's saying like, I'm not buying it. And that's why at the end he's saying, if it's comfort that you seek, just admit it. Just admit that you've got this entire religious construct because you don't like the concept of living in a world without God. But don't put it on, so keep that comfort thing to your, if you just admit that it's a comfort thing, then you no longer have to go after people
pushing
and
it on somebody else.
Tell them that they're sinners and yada yada yada. And then he said, I pray it turns around, which I think is probably an ironic, because that happens a lot where people will say, I think you said it, because I wasn't really familiar with this, but we were having a conversation, we were playing Fortnite, where the phrase, I'll pray for you, is really an insult. Mm-hmm. So, develop that a little bit, because I've never heard of that before.
Well, almost as though you're, better than the person, and they need you to pray for them. And so, the example that I gave was, me and another guy were going out, and we were street evangelizing, which is you just go out and you just talk to people about God. And so we were doing that, and the woman didn't want to hear what he had to say, and it was very obvious. And
she had other stuff to do.
No, I think that she was hurt by religion, to be honest with you, is what it looked like. Now that I'm looking back, and what I remember of what she looked like, it looked like she kind of fits into the category of person that's been hurt by the church, I'm pretty sure she looked like she was part of the LGBTQ community, and so she probably already had some bad feelings about it. And then he came in very abrasively, and I was just kind of quiet because.
What do you mean by abrasively?
You know, just like, you know, like when people, I don't remember exactly what he said, but like, instead of like having a conversation with someone and seeing where they're at, and you know, I used to always start out by saying, do you go to church around here? And then they would say, oh, I don't go to church. Oh, you don't go to church? How come you don't go to church? And then it started the conversation that way.
Yeah.
Because then you get to kind of find out someone's story, you know. But it was like walking up to them and being like, listen, you need God. You know, you can't, you know, people are sinners and you need God, and if you don't, then you're going to go to hell. Like, very like not coming at it with any bit of gentleness at all, or any sort of conversation to see where the person was coming from. But she said she didn't want to hear anything about it, and then he still kept pushing it, and she was getting very frustrated and agitated and was telling him to leave her alone. And I'm pretty sure she might have said, I'm going to consider this harassment or something like that. And then he was like fine. He's like, fine, we'll go. I was just sitting there like completely quiet because I'm like, oh my gosh, I can't believe this is happening. And then he turned on, he's like, yeah, but we'll pray for you. Which, it wasn't like you're genuinely praying for the person. It was like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, it was like a way of like attacking the person by saying we'll pray for you.
What a strange.
Like, oh my gosh.
Yeah. I remember when we went to the Pride Parade and we were handing out all that water. And, you remember that?
Yeah.
And, that one girl I was talking to, well, young woman I was talking to, and she seemed really, really interested in what I was saying. But yeah, I you know, we were in this group and people would say, how do you know, it's evangelize, you know, tell people the gospel, or how do you do that, or how do you know, and I was trying to move people away from creating marks out of people, like, oh, that guy's a mark and I'm gonna go and like having all these like agendas when you're talking to people. And so I would say, well, just get to know them and love them. Because you're not commanded to convert anybody, but you are commanded to love people. And obviously, if you love them, when you love a person, you're going to share what's most important to you with them. I'm a Korn fan, and so I'm going to share Korn with you eventually.
Yeah.
Like, you know, you couldn't have met me in high school and not
I've heard you talk about
heard about Korn.
Yeah.
And it wasn't because I was trying to push Korn on anyone. It's just I loved Korn, and if I loved you, I wanted you to experience this awesome music with me. And it didn't mean I was, you know, but I never said, okay, that guy over there, I'm going to find a way to introduce him to Korn. You know, it was just like, you know, if I'm friends with you, I'm friends with you. Then, you know, it. But people were like, I get these sometimes it was you, like at the very beginning too. Like people would like dissatisfied with that answer.
Well,
because they wanted some.
It was really hard because I was coming from an environment where you were taught that you had to make the best argument for God, because if you, let's say you were supposed to go talk to somebody and then you didn't go talk to that person, and so that person never had a conversation about God, and then they get in a car accident and they die, and then they go straight to hell, like that person's blood is on your hands because you didn't talk to them and you should have. And so there's all this pressure that you feel to like, because if you genuinely love people, like you don't want them to die and go to eternity of hell and in hell. And so there's like this, you know, I got to talk to as many people as possible, because if I make this miss, then, you know, somebody's going to land in hell and it's all going to be my fault.
Yeah.
And so it was hard to transition out of it not being that way anymore. Like, and then, you know, before, when we were taught about it, there was like steps, which always confused me because I never could remember the order of the steps. And so then they used to have like these little it was like the size of a Rubik's cube, but it would like all unfold. And so each time you unfolded it, it switched the picture, and then it would switch it to another picture, and then those pieces would come together and make another picture, and then those unfold, and then it told the whole story, so that way you could share it a little bit easier and better. But even those things confused me, because like I never liked the feeling like I was a car salesman and that I was trying to sell my religion to somebody, because even though that's what it sounded like, that like some people, I think they're telling their religion because they're just trying to get people into their religion because it makes them feel a certain way to have converted people or something like that. For me, it was like, I don't want these people to go to hell. So, you know, because I didn't understand. And then, you know, coming around you were like, well, no, it's not like that. Like, you know, just talk to people and see where people are at. Honey, I'm sorry, but you're bouncing on my chair and I feel like I'm going to throw up or pass out or something right now. So, you can't do that, not do that.
Well, I mean, it was very interesting because we had a group of people who had been institutionalized in the church, and then you'd have these new people who were just meeting Jesus, and they were able to get it a lot quicker than you almost had to sort of like reprogram them and reprogram you guys because everybody had some like crazy agenda, and I was just like,
well, a lot of these people that just came in hadn't been in a church context all their life.
Bless God.
They were like just real, you know, people that were used to...
I remember one time I did this thing. I was like, you know, Jesus was at this wedding party and he ran out of alcohol, so he gave him extra alcohol.
Yeah.
And he didn't say he didn't preach, he didn't say anything.
I know, that was really weird to me. I was like, how
and people were mad at me.
Because I would have had a problem with, like, if somebody did that, I'd be like, are you serious? What do you mean? You went to a party, you served them alcohol, and you didn't talk at all about God?
You didn't preach the gospel. The people were mad at me for that.
Really?
Yeah, one of them, they talked to me afterward. They were like, what are you trying to imply? I was like, I don't know. What are you trying to imply?
Oh, my word.
I said, Jesus rose Lazarus from the dead. And then he just goes about his day. He doesn't say, and I'm going to rise from the dead for the forgiveness of your sins. He just rose him from the dead and off he went. So I was just saying, like, sometimes you just need to go to the party and hang out.
Yeah.
And get people extra alcohol. And sometimes you need to do something nice for a person.
Doesn't sound like a very religious thing
and just do it for them because you love them. That was the entire thing. You know, Mary went to Jesus and said, hey, the one you love is sick.
Yeah.
She didn't say, hey, you've got a really good opportunity here to really put out some evangelism. And Jesus goes and raises him from the dead. And then he doesn't give this big discourse about, you know, evangelism. He just kept it moving.
Yeah.
But then he's at the well with this one girl by herself, and there's not a whole bunch of people around, and he tells her the message. So my point is like, some of this is, you know, educating people on just how to be a human being without an agenda. And I think when people hear evangelism, they're hearing you have to have an agenda for a person. And my agenda with people that I'm around, that God brings into my circles, I'm just going to love them the best that I possibly can. So what does that mean? Well, if I love you and you're at a party and the alcohol is running low, the wine is running low, what's a loving thing to do in that situation? Well, get them more wine. Because, you know, it's a wedding. And, you know, in their culture, if you don't have, you know, enough wine, it's a big embarrassment.
Yeah.
So get them the wine. So protect the guy.
Cared about their...
Well, and the thing is, it's really interesting because in the interplay between Jesus and Mary, you kind of see this. Because it seems to me, as well as to Augustine, sorry Roman Catholics, but it seems to me that Mary had a different agenda. She goes, hey, there's no more wine. And he goes, what does this have to do with me and you? And then he says, my time has not yet come. So there's no reason for Jesus to say that if he wasn't reading into Mary's suggestion that she was trying to say, hey,
show them who you are.
She had an agenda.
I wonder what her reasoning was for that. I wonder if it was anything about his ministry or if it was just, she's a proud mama.
Yeah, well, anytime I see you with Orion, I could see you saying, come on, Orion.
Oh, they're out of wine.
Yeah, because you know.
That's my son.
Yeah. And so Jesus gently rebukes her and says, my time isn't come. But he does it anyway. And that's because Jesus loves people and he loves his mom, and so he can't help but help people.
Kept it quiet.
He can't help but help people when they're in a bad situation. But she had an agenda. And the agenda wasn't just loving those people. It was she wanted to get Jesus his publicity that he rightfully deserved. And he was saying, it's not my... So that's an example where, like, somebody's got an agenda and Jesus is like, no, I'm not going to do that, but I will do it just for the sake of loving the person. So that was one of the big things I was always trying to And people are like, how do you do that? And how are there so many people coming to Jesus through you? And blah, 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 blah. It's just like, just love these people. And people were like, I am convinced that they thought I had some secret sauce that I wasn't telling them, because they would always come to me. I always give them the exact same answer. There's no secret sauce.
I never came up to you and asked that question.
No, but you always had access to me, so you know, whatever. But there's no secret sauce. It's just you know what? People are attracted to people who love them. You don't say.
Yeah.
And the minute that you create an agenda, even if it's evangelism.
And people can tell the difference between honest conversation and agenda-driven conversation.
Yeah.
That's why we have the term car salesman.
Of course. Do I want all my friends with me in the next world? Of course I do. Of course. I would be, temporarily, Jesus had to do some sort of miracle in my heart if Zonia wasn't there. To have me experience, Ian's gonna be there. That's already a settled issue for me. I've already settled that with the Most High. But like, if Zonia wasn't there, there had to be some miracle to where he said, he would make it so I could enjoy eternity. So of course I want all these people with me, but I've gotten to know her, and I am blessed just to know her as a person. Of course I want her to know Jesus. But, the command is just love your neighbor. I don't have all this freight, carrying around all this theological freight. Now, there's another atheist person that I'm friends with that, we have some co-belligerency with, where I hit her up one time and I said, what would it take you to believe again? And she said something, and, I haven't even touched it because the time's just not right. But that was a very, very specific moment, and that was her sharing a bunch of stuff, to where I finally said, okay, it's time to ask this question. But even if she never did that, we all kind of locked arms during the whole. We found each other doing the whole abortion thing, where she's an atheist and she's going hard. For these babies, and so but religious people, like, they want like these things, and then it has this sort of byproduct on people where people are like, yo man, like, because here's the thing.
The thing is, now that I have been through a situation in which I know that you don't look at that past situation the same way that I do, but I was extremely hurt by everything that went on within the church context, and there was so many angles to it and stuff that. Well, no,
I look at that as you being hurt. It's understandable to me that you're hurt.
Yeah, but you don't feel hurt by the situation, and you didn't experience it the same way that I did. And so for me, if it wasn't for Jesus, I would have nothing to do with those people ever again in my life, and I really could care less. As in, when I say those people, I mean just religious people, because I feel like that I've met more genuine people through the channel than I had there. And so I guess I think that your experiences with people and my experiences with people are different. You're like, people just open up to you and you get the real deal from people.
Right.
For me, it's not. I think that for me, my experiences are very.
Right.
Even if, and there was some people that I was very, open with and genuine with, and then those people took that information and turned it on me, and that was really painful, and especially because I thought people were my friend, and so there was just like a lot of things. And so when I meet people that don't want to have anything to do with religion, and they don't want to have anything to do with the church, all that stuff makes sense to me. But because I love Jesus so much, like, I am not going to throw the baby out with the bathwater. I'll deal with those people because they're his people. You know what I mean? But sometimes they just don't.
Yeah, I mean, it's been a very fascinating thing, and the other thing is I'm more open with these folks than I am with everyone, with church people.
I know. I know. I'm like, I'm surprised he's saying that.
But it's because there are different value systems based on the context that you're in. So, there is a sort of, especially among American evangelicalism, there's a sort of value system, and it's more about the externals and how people perceive you and things of that nature. And I figured that algorithm out pretty quickly. And so I was the guy that people said a lot of stuff to, but I never gave them anything because I understood, that about human nature.
Yeah.
And it's really interesting because we've got a lot of atheist friends or whatever, and I've had conflicts with a bunch of them. Then you have a conflict with the few Christians, and then they go and say all types of crazy shit behind your back, and it's like you're one of the few Christians, and I'm just it's like hilarious to me.
You know what's crazy?
It's unbelievable.
There was one person that I was talking to, and I was like sharing more with this person than I had shared with other people about what my situation was and how bad things had gotten. And when I was sharing with this person, I kept feeling like just when I say like God was talking to me, like it's almost like something that you just know very, very strongly inside yourself, and there's like a confidence about it, but then there's also like a real truth feel to it. I don't really know how to explain it. It's so hard to explain.
I just say God said it to me.
So God said, don't tell her all of this. And so then
You went and did it anyway?
No, I was in the middle of just about to say more of it, and then I really, really felt that. So then I just kind of like, whoop, U-turned that conversation and kind of said something else of lesser importance. And then after, when everything went the way that it did, I was like, that's why. I mean, she turned big time.
Yeah.
I mean, I really don't care what your opinion is on this subject because I know how I experienced it.
I'm saying, I agree.
You always feel bad for.
I don't feel bad for her at all. To me, it's just you could, it's like Mark says, you could, Ray Charles could have seen that a million miles away from space.
Oh.
Because she's so miserable, and there's nothing worse in the world than a miserable Christian.
Yeah.
They're just ugh.
Yeah.
Ugh. So cutting off the one solution, you only bring the disease, and strip away what you need, and hope that God will forgive us. So I think it's you're not giving any solutions. You're just telling people that they're nasty and that they're horrible. Mm-hmm. I've never run into an individual who's ever said I've lived a perfect life. I've never done anything wrong ever in my life. Mm-hmm. Most people are gonna say that. Right. You don't need to go and tell people they're horrible and set them on fire. Like most people will be like, well, of course, and I just go, yeah. I mean, here's how I deal with my guilt. How do you deal with yours? And and keep it moving. But there's some people who. Especially, there's some circles of Christianity where the worse that you make people feel and the worse that people react to you, the better and the more real you are. It's kind of like black metal. Like the worst you produce the song and the more, just completely discordant everything is, then that means you're a true cult. Yeah. And there's Christians like that. Like the uglier they make the gospel and the uglier they make people react to them, they feel like, because now I can say I have a persecution complex. It's like, no, you were just being a dick. You were being a dick. You saw that dude with his boyfriend, and you called him all types of names. You called him a sodomite. You said God was going to set him on fire and all that. And of course, they said something reckless to you because you're a dick. Don't be like Dick. See, you thought I was using a bad word? Dick is a nickname for Richard. That was a subliminal. So I understand this song from that perspective. If that's what he's coming to, if that's what he's talking about. And he says something really interesting, something to believe that pulls us to our knees, which is really interesting because mostly it brings you to your knees, but pulling to your knees, that means that the action is coming from below you and pulling you down. And so that's a very crazy picture because a lot of these religious people, instead of being, face to face with you and trying to pull you up, or even if you're down, kind of kneeling to where you are and trying to pull you up, a lot of religious people are actually beneath you because they're miserable as hell and they're horrible, and they want to pull you down to where they are, and then
so not all of them.
Religious. I said some.
Yeah, I know.
And put some religious justice. Those are people he's talking about.
Yeah. And
I'm not going to hold him responsible to say in this song that not all Christians or not all religious people are like that. If that's been his only experience, that's not on him.
Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, I get what he was saying. Is that I was actually surprised by this song because I didn't find SEVENDUST to be that kind of a band lyrically as well as at the beginning sonically. I wish there would have been more of that synth or whatever that was at the beginning. What do you
Yeah,
give the
that
song?
was really good. 8.9.
9.1. 9.1.
There you go, Seven Dusted.
There you go, Seven Dusted. Hope you get home soon, my guy. Vin out.
Sorry, out.
Gone.
I shouldn't even complain about the heat. He must be in so much heat over there.
Oh, I
But
agree.
I'm pregnant, so.
You'd be complaining anyway. You know and I know.